Harlan. Harlan was unlike any other person the town had ever known. Where others woke up each day, braving the early chill to work in fields, factories, and offices, Harlan refused to lift a finger. His little cottage, located on the edge of the town, was often the subject of curious glances and hushed whispers. Overgrown with weeds and vines, it was a sharp contrast to the manicured gardens and whitewashed fences of his neighbors. The people of Eldoria often speculated how Harlan managed to survive. Surely, without working, he'd have nothing to eat or wear. But Harlan's life was an enigma. Every morning, while others rushed to their workplaces, he would sit leisurely on his porch, sipping on a cup of tea and watching the world go by. It wasn't as if he was incapable or handicapped. In fact, Harlan was a robust man, with a frame suggesting that he could outwork any two men in Eldoria. Rumors began to spread. Some said he had a hidden treasure, and he lived off its wealth. Others whispered that he had mastered the art of alchemy and could turn stones into gold. And yet, others believed he was simply a madman, enjoying the fruits of an inheritance that would soon run out. One day, a young lad named Milo, consumed by curiosity, approached Harlan's cottage. "Mr. Harlan," he began timidly, "may I ask why you never work?" Harlan, taking another sip from his cup, glanced at Milo and grinned. "Why should I?" "People say it's necessary," Milo responded, "to earn, to live, to be a part of this society." Harlan leaned back, eyes twinkling. "Is that what they say? Tell me, Milo, do you see the birds in the sky?" Milo nodded, squinting at the flock of birds dancing above. "Do they toil in factories? Do the trees work in offices? And yet, don't they all live and thrive?" Harlan asked. "But we aren't birds or trees," Milo countered. "We have needs, responsibilities." Harlan's gaze turned distant. "Ah, the age-old belief. But tell me, Milo, aren't those needs self-imposed? And aren't those responsibilities just chains we forge ourselves?" Milo frowned, trying to process Harlan's words. "But how do you live without money, without food, without clothes?" Harlan chuckled. "I do have some money, and when it runs out, I find ways. As for food, the land provides. As for clothes, well, haven't we complicated life with the ever-changing styles and trends? A simple cloth does the trick." Milo looked at Harlan's simple attire, indeed just a basic piece of fabric wrapped around him. "Don't you get lonely or bored?" he questioned further. "Lonely? I have the company of birds, trees, and the wind. Bored? Never. The world is too vast and intriguing to be bored," Harlan said, looking towards the horizon. As the sun began its descent, casting a golden hue over Eldoria, Milo stood up, his mind abuzz with thoughts. "Thank you, Mr. Harlan," he said, still not entirely convinced but certainly intrigued. Harlan nodded, returning to his tranquil observation of the world. As days turned into months and months into years, Harlan's reputation as the man who wouldn't work grew. Many visited him, seeking wisdom, while others merely wanted to chastise him for his unorthodox lifestyle. And as the seasons changed, so did the landscape of Eldoria. New factories emerged, roads widened, and houses multiplied. Yet, amidst this sprawling development, Harlan's little cottage remained untouched, a symbol of defiance against the conventions of the world. Eldoria was evolving. The buzz of commerce, innovation, and expansion echoed through its streets. The younger generation, having never known a world without the hustle and bustle of a busy life, looked upon Harlan with a mix of bewilderment and disdain. To them, he was either a relic of a bygone era or a lazy hermit, resisting progress. Delia, a young journalist fresh out of college, was assigned to write a piece about the town's transformations. Intrigued by the legend of Harlan, she decided to visit him. With her modern attire and digital equipment, Delia was the embodiment of the new age. Knocking lightly on the creaky door of the cottage, she was met with the ever-calm eyes of Harlan. "Ah, another visitor," he mused, his voice betraying a hint of amusement. "Mr. Harlan," Delia began, her voice quivering with a mix of excitement and nervousness, "I wanted to understand your perspective on the changing world. Why do you remain here, clinging to the old ways?" Harlan motioned for her to sit beside him on the porch. "Clinging? No, dear Delia. I'm not clinging to anything. I'm merely living my truth. The world changes, it always has. But the essence of life? That remains." Delia pressed on. "But don't you feel left out? The world is progressing, technology is advancing. There's so much you're missing out on." Harlan looked at her, a bemused expression on his face. "Am I? Or is it the world that's missing out on simplicity, on the beauty of stillness, on the joy of just being? Their conversation spanned hours, moving from the advancements of the world to the intricacies of the human soul. Delia left Harlan's abode, her article now taking a new direction. But not all were like Delia. A group of townsmen, led by a wealthy developer named Gregor, saw Harlan as an obstruction. Gregor had plans for Eldoria, grand plans of turning it into a commercial hub. And Harlan's piece of land was the last piece of the puzzle he needed. Under the guise of progress, Gregor approached the town council, suggesting that Harlan's property was a blot on the town's landscape and should be seized for development. Whispers began circulating, fueled by Gregor's wealth and influence. Why should Harlan, who doesn't even work, own such a prime piece of land? Isn't it better used for the prosperity of Eldoria? The town was divided. While many agreed with Gregor, seeing potential jobs and increased wealth, others sympathized with Harlan, recognizing the value of preserving history and the importance of choice in life. Harlan, for his part, remained unperturbed. When confronted by Gregor, who offered him a handsome sum for his land, Harlan simply responded, "What use do I have for such wealth? This land, its memories, its essence, are priceless." One fateful evening, as the golden hues of the setting sun bathed Eldoria, a fire broke out in Harlan's cottage. The townspeople rushed to the scene, but by the time the flames were doused, Harlan's beloved abode was reduced to ashes. Whispers of foul play filled the air, but without evidence, nothing could be proven. All that remained of Harlan's sanctuary was charred remnants and memories. In the aftermath of the fire, the man who wouldn't work stood tall, gazing at the ruins of his home. The town waited, watching for his next move. Would this be the turning point that pushed Harlan into the folds of conventional society? The smoke and ashes of Harlan's once cozy cottage were still warm when dawn broke the next day. The townspeople expected to see a defeated man, someone broken by the cruel hand of fate. But Harlan's spirit was indomitable. As the sun rose, he sat amidst the ruins, eyes closed, breathing in the memories of the place that had been his refuge for so long. Eldoria was abuzz with speculations. Would Harlan finally submit to the ways of the world? Would he sell his land and perhaps find work? The curious and the concerned alike approached the site, offering condolences, help, and even employment. But Harlan simply smiled, thanking them for their kindness. Delia, the journalist who had once tried to unravel the mystery of Harlan, returned. She found him in contemplation, the world around him seemingly blurring into insignificance. She sat down beside him, her presence silent yet supportive. After what felt like hours, Harlan finally spoke. "You know, Delia, we often attach ourselves to the tangible, homes, possessions, and routines. But when they're taken away, we realize the intangible, memories, emotions, and experiences, are what truly matter." Delia nodded, her heart heavy. "What will you do now?" Harlan looked around the charred remains. "I will rebuild. But not a home for myself." The town watched in awe over the next few months as Harlan, with help from those who believed in his vision, began constructing something unique on his land. It wasn't another cottage or house. It was a park, a sanctuary for all of Eldoria to experience the serenity that Harlan had always cherished. Trees were planted, benches were set up, and a pond was created in the center, reflecting the ever-changing sky. A plaque at the entrance read, "The Garden of Stillness, a place to remember the beauty of simply being." Gregor, who had once eyed the land with dreams of commercial success, found himself visiting the park more often than he'd like to admit. The tranquility of the place had a strange pull, and even he, with all his ambitions, couldn't resist the allure of peace. Eldoria transformed once again. While it still thrived as a hub of commerce and progress, the Garden of Stillness became its soul. People from neighboring towns and even distant cities came to experience the magic of the park. And amidst them all, Harlan sat, sometimes engaging with visitors, sometimes lost in his own world. Years passed, and the inevitable cycle of life took its course. Harlan, the man who wouldn't work, the man who defied societal norms, left the world. But his legacy lived on. Eldoria remembered him not as someone who resisted progress but as someone who taught them the value of balance. The Garden of Stillness became a testament to Harlan's philosophy, a place where the weary could rest, where the restless could find solace, and where everyone could be reminded of the joys of simplicity. And so, in the heart of a bustling town, the legend of Harlan lived on, whispering tales of a man who understood that sometimes, doing nothing was the most profound thing one could do. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to my channel for more stories. Until next time, take care and keep watching.